Ladies and gentlemen, heartbreak is a pain that leaves no visible scars, yet it cuts deeper than any wound. We've all experienced that sinking feeling, the betrayal, the disappointment, the realization that someone we trusted has taken our love for granted. But today I want to remind you of something powerful: your strength, your worth, and the one text that will make him regret ever hurting you. Heartbreak is one of the most excruciating emotions a person can experience. It has a way of consuming your thoughts, making every moment feel heavy, and making you question your worth. When someone you trusted and loved deeply betrays you or walks away, it feels like a part of you has been ripped away. You might replay every memory, overanalyze every word spoken, and wonder if you could have done something differently. The pain is real, and it's valid. But here's the truth: heartbreak is an experience, not an identity. It may shape you, but it does not define who you are. Too often, people allow their suffering to become their story. They let one person's mistreatment dictate their self-worth, believing they are unlovable or not enough. But the reality is, someone else's inability to appreciate your value does not make you any less worthy. Heartbreak is a temporary storm, and while it may shake you, it cannot destroy you unless you let it. Think about the strongest, most inspiring people you know. They have all faced some form of pain, betrayal, or loss. What separates them is not that they never experienced heartbreak, but that they refuse to let it break them permanently. Instead of seeing heartbreak as an ending, see it as a turning point. It is a painful, yet powerful reminder that you were meant for something greater. Sometimes, the universe allows people to hurt us not to punish us, but to redirect us, to show us that we were settling for less than we deserve. The pain you feel today will one day become the wisdom that guides you toward better choices, stronger boundaries, and a deeper love, starting with the love you have for yourself. So grieve if you must, but do not stay in that grief. Do not let someone else's inability to love you properly become the reason you stop loving yourself. Heartbreak is a chapter, not your whole story. When someone hurts you, betrays your trust, or walks away without a second thought, your first instinct might be to react with anger. You might feel the urge to lash out, expose their wrongdoings, or make them feel the same pain they inflicted on you. And that's natural after all. When a person wounds you deeply, the need for justice or revenge can feel overpowering. You might even fantasize about sending long, heartfelt messages, calling them out publicly, or finding ways to make them regret what they did. But here's the truth: anger-based revenge rarely brings the peace you seek. Instead of making you feel better, it keeps you emotionally tied to the person who hurt you. Every time you plot revenge or dwell on their actions, you are still giving them space in your mind and heart. And that's exactly what they don't deserve. True revenge isn't about proving a point or making someone feel guilty. It's about moving forward with grace and refusing to let their actions define your future. When you choose to rise above the pain, you show them and yourself that their betrayal did not break you. Nothing unsettles a person more than realizing they no longer have power over you, that their actions did not leave you bitter or desperate, but rather stronger, wiser, and happier. Think about it. If you respond with anger, you validate their perception of you as someone who is hurt and still emotionally entangled. But when you remain composed, unbothered, and choose to walk away with your head held high, you send a far more powerful message. It tells them, I am not controlled by your actions. I am bigger than this pain. I refuse to let you have any more influence over my emotions. Moving on with grace doesn't mean you are weak. It doesn't mean you condone what happened or that you weren't hurt. It simply means you respect yourself too much to lower yourself to their level. It means you understand that your happiness is not dependent on their regret, and your peace is worth more than temporary satisfaction. The best kind of revenge is to live a life so fulfilling, so full of joy and self-love, that their presence or absence call relevant. The moment you stop seeking revenge and start focusing on your own growth and healing, you take back your power. When someone hurts you, the temptation to long emotional messages explaining your pain can be overwhelming. You might feel the need to remind him of everything you did, how much you loved him, and how deeply his actions wounded you. You may want to ask him why he took you for granted, why you walked away, or why he treated you as if you didn't matter. But here's the reality. Most men don't regret hurting you because of what you say. They regret it when they realize they've lost something valuable. This is why a single well-crafted text can have more impact than pages of emotions. The right message should not beg for closure, show desperation, or express anger. Instead, it should be calm, composed, and final. It should make him pause, rethink his decisions, and wonder if he truly understood your worth. Imagine receiving a message like this from someone you thought would fall apart without you. I genuinely want to thank you. You showed me exactly what I don't deserve. And for that, I'm grateful. Wishing you the best. At first glance, it may seem simple, but in reality, it is a powerful statement of self-worth. It tells him that you have acknowledged his mistreatment, but refused to let it define you. It shows that rather than staying in bitterness, you are moving forward with clarity and dignity. This kind of message shifts the power dynamic completely. While he might have expected tears, anger, or desperate attempts to hold on, he is instead met with indifference. And nothing is more unsettling than realizing the person you thought you had control over is now beyond your reach. Men often regret losing a woman when they see that she is no longer emotionally invested in them. When you send a message that radiates strength and self-respect, that leaves him questioning everything. Did I misjudge her? Or did I underestimate her? What if she finds someone better? A message like this does not just signal closure, it makes him feel the weight of his loss. Because at that moment, he realizes you were the prize all along. When someone hurts you, it's natural to feel the urge to explain your pain, demand answers, or seek some form of validation. You may want to pour your emotions into a long message detailing everything they did wrong, hoping they will finally understand the depth of your hurt. But here's the truth. Long emotional messages often do more harm than good. Why? Because when you write long paragraphs explaining your pain, you are still giving them control over your emotions. You are still seeking a response, an apology, or some form of acknowledgement. And unfortunately, most people who hurt you will not give you the closure you crave. They will either dismiss your words, respond with empty excuses, or worse, ignore you completely. That's why the most powerful message is short, dignified, and final. It should leave no room for debate, no space for argument, and no indication that you are waiting for a response. It should radiate confidence, self-respect, and emotional strength. A message like, I genuinely want to thank you. You showed me exactly what I don't deserve, and for that I'm grateful. Wishing you the best. This kind of text does three things. It ends the conversation on your terms. Instead of engaging in a never-ending back and forth, you set the boundary that this is the last thing you will say. You take control of the narrative and refuse to engage in unnecessary drama. It leaves them wondering. Unlike an angry or emotional message, which they can easily dismiss, a short and composed message forces them to think. They will wonder if they truly understood your worth, if you've already moved on, and if they made a mistake letting you go. It shows self-respect. Begging for answers or closure makes it seem like you still need something from them. A dignified message shows that you are emotionally independent, that you value yourself too much to chase someone who didn't appreciate you. Silence is often louder than words. And when you combine that silence with a message that exudes strength and finality, it creates an effect far greater than any emotional plea ever could. This isn't about playing games or manipulating emotions. It's about choosing self-worth over self. Pity. Regret doesn't come from your tears. It doesn't come from the long emotional texts you send or the desperate attempts to remind him of what he lost. Men don't regret losing a woman because she begs them to stay. They regret losing a woman when they realize she was the prize all along. A woman who knows her worth doesn't chase, beg, or plead. She doesn't lower her standards to accommodate someone who failed to recognize her value. Instead, she walks away with her dignity intact, knowing that anyone who couldn't appreciate her presence never deserved her in the first place. And that is exactly what makes men regret losing her. See, many men take good women for granted because they assume she will always be there. They assume that no matter how poorly they treat her, she will keep forgiving, keep loving, and keep waiting. But the moment she chooses herself over him, the moment she stops accepting the bare minimum, that's when the regret begins to settle in. Because the truth is, finding a woman who is loyal, kind, and deeply loving is rare. Men often realize too late that they lost someone irreplaceable, not just a partner, but someone who genuinely cared for them, supported them, and loved them unconditionally. And when they see her thriving without them, when they see her glowing, moving forward, and no longer seeking their attention, that's when they feel the full weight of their mistake. Men regret losing women who don't seek revenge, who don't chase, and who don't waste their energy trying to prove a point. They regret losing a woman who was once their greatest supporter but now treats them like a distant memory. A woman who knows her worth understands that her value is not defined by someone else's inability to love her properly. She doesn't wait around for someone to change. She doesn't settle for breadcrumbs of affection. She moves on not because she stopped caring, but because she finally realized she deserves more. And when a man sees that she no longer looks at him with longing, that she no longer reacts to his attempts to come back, that she no longer cares whether he stays or goes, that's when the regret truly sinks. When someone you love hurts you, it's natural to crave an explanation. You want to know why they did what they did. Why did they change? Why did they treat you like you were everything only to throw you away like you were nothing? You replay the moments, search for signs you might have missed, and convince yourself that if you could just get closure, you would finally be able to move on. But here's the painful truth. Closure doesn't come from them, it comes from you. Many people believe that if they can just get one final conversation, one honest explanation, they will be able to make peace with what happened. But the reality is, the people who hurt you are often the least capable of giving you the closure you seek. If they truly cared enough to give you honesty, they wouldn't have hurt you in the first place. When you beg for closure, you are unknowingly giving them power over your healing. You are telling them that you cannot move forward without their permission, without their validation. And some men will use this to their advantage. They will feed you half-truths, make excuses, or string you along with words that keep you emotionally attached while they have already moved on. But the most powerful thing you can do, walk away without needing an explanation. The moment you stop waiting for closure from them is the moment you take back your power. You no longer need their words to justify your worth. You no longer need their excuses to understand what went wrong. Instead, you accept the painful, yet liberating truth. Sometimes the only closure you need is knowing that you deserve better. Walking away isn't about pretending you weren't hurt. It's about recognizing that no explanation will ever undo the damage. No apology will change what happened. And most importantly, no amount of begging will ever make someone treat you the way you deserve if they never valued you to begin with. So instead of waiting for a conversation that may never come, instead of holding on to false hope that one day they will finally understand what they lost, walk away. Walk away with your head held high, with your dignity untouched, and with the quiet confidence that one day they will regret taking you for granted. And by then you will have already healed, already moved on, already built a life so full and beautiful that their absence no longer matters. When someone breaks your heart, your initial reaction might be to seek revenge. You may want them to feel the same pain they caused you. You may fantasize about making them jealous, proving them wrong, or showing them that they lost something irreplaceable. But the truth is, the most powerful form of revenge is not bitterness, not anger, and not trying to make them suffer. It's healing. It's thriving. It's becoming the best version of yourself without them. See, the moment you decide to focus on yourself instead of your pain, you shift the power dynamic. While they may expect you to be broken, crying, or waiting for them to come back, instead you rise. You put all the energy you would have spent on them into rebuilding yourself. You pour love into your own life the way you once poured it into them. And that is what truly makes them regret losing you. Nothing unsettles someone more than seeing the person they hurt become happier, stronger, and more successful without them. When you heal, you show them that their absence did not destroy you, it freed you. You prove that they were never the source of your happiness. In fact, your life became better once they were no longer in it. Healing is not about pretending the pain never existed. It's about acknowledging it, feeling it, and then deciding that it will not define you. It's about refusing to let someone's mistreatment determine your self-worth. And when you truly heal, when you genuinely thrive, you reach a point where their regret no longer matters because you have already moved so far beyond them that their presence or absence is irrelevant. Thriving means setting goals and achieving them. It means finding joy in your own company, surrounding yourself with people who uplift you, and chasing dreams that set your soul on fire. It means looking in the mirror and loving the person staring back at you, knowing that she is worthy, beautiful, and deserving of real love, whether or not they ever recognized it. And that's when the real regret kicks in for them. Not because you tried to make them jealous, not because you posted a picture hoping they'd notice, but because they see you becoming everything they once had the chance to appreciate but were too blind to value. And now they can only watch from a distance, knowing they can never have access to you again. When someone mistreats you, betrays you, or walks away without a second thought, it's easy to feel like your world is falling apart. You may wonder how you'll ever move forward, how you'll ever feel whole again. The pain of losing someone you loved, especially when they didn't appreciate you, can be overwhelming. But what if I told you that their absence is not the end of your story, but the beginning of something greater? Too often we cling to people who were never meant to stay in our lives permanently. We hold on to memories, promises, and potential, believing that if we could just change something, if we were more patient, more understanding, more forgiving, they would finally see our worth. But the truth is, anyone who truly values you will never put you in a position where you have to prove your worth to them. Letting go of someone who didn't appreciate you is not a loss, it's a gain. It's gaining back your peace, your confidence, and your freedom to be loved the way you deserve. It's removing the weight of someone who was holding you back from reaching your full potential. The future you are stepping into is brighter, not because they are gone, but because you are no longer dimming your own light trying to make them see you. Imagine what happens when you finally stop waiting for someone to change, when you stop hoping for their validation, their love, or their return. Suddenly you have space in your heart for things that truly matter, things that bring you joy, fulfillment, and purpose. You have the freedom to chase your dreams without being weighed down by someone who only ever gave you uncertainty. It may hurt now, but one day you'll look back and realize that their absence was the best thing that ever happened to you. You'll see how their departure cleared the way for better opportunities, healthier relationships, and a love that doesn't make you question your worth. And by the time they realize what they lost, it will no longer matter, because you will have already stepped into a future so bright, so fulfilling, that their regret is just a whisper in the past. It's in the moments of heartbreak that we often forget just how powerful we are. We believe that our happiness was tied to that person, that our future somehow depended on their presence. But the reality is, you were always whole on your own. Their inability to recognize your worth doesn't mean you are any less valuable. It only means they were never meant to walk alongside you on your journey to something greater. Life has a way of removing people who no longer align with your growth, even when it doesn't feel like a blessing at the time. That person may have been a chapter in your story, but they were never meant to be the whole book. Every tear you shed, every painful night you endured will one day become proof of your strength. The version of you that will emerge from this pain is unstoppable. And while they may regret hurting you, while they may one day wish they had treated you better, it won't matter, because by then you will have already moved forward. You won't be the same person who once cried over them, who once waited for their validation. You will be wiser, stronger, and fully aware of your worth. The best revenge isn't about making them feel guilty. It isn't about hoping they come back, begging for another chance. The best revenge is living so well, so fully, that their absence feels like a blessing. One day they'll look at you and realize they let go of someone irreplaceable. But by then you will be too busy living the life you deserve to even notice. And that is the most powerful transformation of all, When the person who once made you question your worth becomes nothing more than a distant memory. When the regret comes too late and you are too far ahead to even care. Because the truth is, people only realize what they had when they see that it's gone forever. They remember the way you loved them, the way you stood by them, the way you poured your heart into them. And when they look around and realize that no one else will ever love them with the same depth, the same sincerity, that's when the regret truly sinks in. They might try to come back. They might send that late night message, hoping to reopen a door they once slammed shut. But by then you will have grown into someone who no longer needs their validation, their presence, or their apology. You won't need closure because you created it for yourself. You won't need revenge because your success, your glow, your peace will be the ultimate proof that they lost something they will never find again. And that's the beauty of moving on. When you heal, when you truly step into your power, you stop looking back. Their regret becomes irrelevant, their absence a gift, their memory nothing more than a cord and a lesson that made you stronger. So let them regret. Let them sit with the weight of their choices. But as for you, keep moving forward. Keep thriving. Keep becoming the person you were always meant to be. Because the greatest revenge is never found in their regret, it's found in your happiness. And as you continue moving forward, you'll realize something even more powerful you never needed them to begin with. The love you were so willing to give them. You can now pour it into yourself. The energy you wasted trying to prove your worth. You can now channel it into building the life you deserve. The time you spent wondering if they would ever regret hurting you, you now understand that their regret is their burden to carry, not yours. One day you will wake up and realize that you no longer think about them the way you used to. Their name won't trigger pain, their absence won't feel like a loss, and their memory will no longer have the power to break you. Instead, you'll feel nothing but peace. Because you survived. You healed. You became someone stronger, wiser, and more radiant than ever before. And when they finally realize what they lost, when they reach out with regret in their heart and longing in their words, you will no longer be there. Not out of spite, not out of anger, but simply because you have outgrown them. You see, people who take you for granted always assume you'll be waiting. They assume they can return whenever they please, that they can walk away and come back as if nothing happened. But you are not a revolving door. You are a woman who knows her worth now. And once you walk away, you don't look back. So let them regret it. Let them sit in the silence they created. Let them wonder what could have been while you embrace what is a future filled with love, success, and a happiness that no longer depends on someone who never deserved you. Because the moment you choose yourself, you win. And that, my dear, is something they will regret forever. Not because they regret losing you. Not because they finally see your worth. But because you found your own worth long before their regret ever mattered. You win because you chose healing over hatred. You chose growth over grief. You chose to build a life so full of love, joy, and success that their absence became irrelevant. And when they finally realize what they lost, when they look back and see the incredible person you've become, it won't be your concern anymore. Because you'll be too busy living, too happy thriving, and too far ahead to ever look back. Their regret is their burden to carry. Your happiness is yours.